So now let's create our sales info job configuration, okay? Um, which gonna be the place where we are going to create all configuration, all components related to our sales info. So the first thing that we have to do is to add this annotation, enable batch processing, which automatically gonna provide us some features about the batch processing, okay? And you can read more because I'm your sensei. I'm not your father, so go read documentation. But what I can tell you guys is we just need to annotate our example here, our main class, okay, with this annotation, because we can have in this job or in this service or in this project one or more batch processing. So we just annotate it here, and that's all. So here in our sales info job config, as it is a config, right? Yeah. So we have to add it a configuration because we are going to create here a lot of beans. And for Spring Batch, I told you guys that the first thing that we have to keep in mind is the core concept, which is a job and steps. Okay, so in order to have a job and a step, in order to create them, we are going to use um, the like this example, the job builder factory. Okay, and also we are going to use the step builder factory. So this is the two kind of factory, in this case utilities, that gonna help us to build our jobs and our steps. As I saw you guys, like I show you guys before, we are using Mapstrack, so I'm just gonna use here the required args constructor, and I'm gonna inject it. Okay, so for those who knows what does it mean, it means that we are going to inject via like constructor arguments. Okay, so Mapstrack gonna do it for us. And now we are gonna start create our job. Okay, so as we saw before, like if we have a job and the job can have one or more steps, and we have a step and step can have a reader, processor, and writer. So let's start from our reader because we are going to read our CSV file, right? So in that order, we can just start like creating our maybe maybe file reader. Okay, so um, let's start by creating here a bin. It's gonna be like flat file item reader. um, what is flat file item reader? You can just read from like Spring Batch documentation, all kind of. I'm gonna leave here in description every single topic, like the link for the official documentation, which is very well documented. So we are going to use like our like a flat file item reader in order to read from our, like to read CSV. Okay, I don't know now which class we are going to use, but let's just say like, okay, sales info file reader. Okay, which gonna be the name of our reader, and it's gonna return for us, let's call it new flat file item reader. um, no, in this case let's flat file item reader builder. Okay, um, let's let's first create here maybe the DTO, which we are going to like to map, we are going to use in order to map the each line of our file into a Java object. Okay, we are going to create here like example a sales let's call sales info DTO. Okay, For me, example, I'm using Java 17. I'm just gonna create it as a record, but for you guys, you can just create it as a normal class. Okay, so in my case, I'm gonna create it like this, and I'm gonna save it into a new package called DTO. Okay, so it's here. So what we are going to have in our um, sales info record, we are going to have, we are going to map like every single like column from our file, okay, into this Java object. So as we go back here in our file, we are going to have like a product, seller, seller ID, price, city, category. So let's go and create, okay, first gonna be the product, yes, the product, and then we are going to have, maybe it's, oops, it's a string, gonna be the seller itself. And if we go back, just, okay, product, seller, yes, then we have our seller ID, which is an integer in our case. Okay, I'm gonna make the seller ID maybe like this. And then what we have is price, city, and category. Okay, so now we're gonna have the price gonna be a double, oops, price, and then as I remember, it's gonna be the city, and in the last it's gonna be a string which gonna be the category. So this is our sales info DTO. Okay, we are going to use the sales info DTO, which gonna be like the point, like in order to map our like every single like column into our Java object. Okay, so now that we have our sales info DTO, let's now keep like creating our reader. Okay, so the first thing that we have to add here is the resource in this case. Okay, it can just be, let's just create a class path resource. Okay, in our case, let's just put it like example data for now, and let's create here in our resources a new folder. We're gonna call it data, and then you just have to I'm gonna give it I'm gonna leave it here attached in our project, but I'm just gonna download this file. Okay, I have it already here, so I'm just gonna copy the CSV, okay, into our data folder. So for now, let's keep it simple. Okay, we have it here. As we are reading this Pascual store dot CSV, okay, it's gonna be our resource. So we are reading it from class path. Then we have to give it maybe a name. Okay, let's call it like sales reader. Okay, sales info file reader, sales info file reader. And then as we can see, our file reader is CSV. Okay, so it's comma delimited. So in our case, let's use the comma because we are going to read it separated as CSV, right? Separated by comma. Okay, and let's keep moving. By maybe now we have to give the names. Okay, the names gonna be the let's say like the name of our let's say here like the tokens. Okay, here like the product, the seller, the seller ID. Just let's just copy this and paste it here. So the name it receive an array of strings. So in our case, let's just create an array of string like this. Okay. Yes, it's gonna be like this, but it can be a problem because it's gonna map. Let's just keep moving. So we are going to then set a target. The one thing that I really like on the new Spring Batch versions is that we don't need to create all those line mapper and delimiters, all those stuff. You know, like now we can just use like the target type. So and we target it to our like DTO, our Java class, and the Spring gonna do it for us. Okay, so um, as we can see, we are going to target each, okay, each column, okay, each token into our Java object. So it's have to match the same name. Example, it should have like the product as we wrote it here. Okay, example here, also the seller, um, then the seller ID, the same way that we just put it in on our like Java record. The price should be price, the city should be city, and the category should be the category. So this is the way that we just have created like um, our reader. Okay, in our case, like let's just put it as a bin. So this is our reader. So very simple. Okay, you just have to give it a resource for now. Okay, give it a name, delimited, and the target. Okay, and that's all. Of course that you have a lot of configuration that you can set it here, but for now we are just going to focus on our reader itself. Another thing that I don't want to forget here is the to, as we can see here. Let's just check here. We can see that we have here a header. Okay, so this column, this first row is not valid because it's header. So we have to skip, okay, the first row. Okay, in that order, Spring Batch offered us like a very simple way to do that. Okay, in order like to do that is just to say like lines to skip. Okay, lines to skip. How many lines you want to skip from the top to bottom? So we just said one. So we are going to skip this first line, right? Nice.